I belong to this epic community called Genius Network that Joe Polish started, and Michael belongs to it as well. And I think we met in February at the big event.
Yes, the annual event.
Yeah, and you told me about your amazing, what do we call it? What do you call what you do? Is there a name for it?
Oh, Human Optimization Center.
Yes, yes, yes. And then I became in love. I went to it's called Optimize, and it's the cold plunge and the hot and oh my gosh, what it did for my nervous system. Like, I can't even explain how good I feel. So every time I come to Arizona, it is like top priority that I make it to Optimize. I'm so grateful you created that. And one day we're going to bring it to Idaho. That's for sure.
I like that. Yeah, me and Jesse want to bring it to Idaho. I love the idea.
Yes, 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 yes. And I'm going to be in Arizona next week and the week following. So I've got a lot of Optimize sessions I get to do. I'm so excited.
You're in town next week too?
Yeah, so I'm speaking at a huge event in Scottsdale where Glennon Doyle's on stage and all these big speakers. So I'm going to be, yeah. So I'm going to be there, and I'm going to come, I don't know, probably every day. That's what my goal is, because it's going to take a lot of my energy to show up on that stage, you know?
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is the cold water therapy, it wakes the body up. So it'll give you the energy that you need to talk on stage, to be focused, to be present, all those things.
I'm so excited. So I have massive love for you. And then I met with you, I think 3 weeks ago, and I got to really hear your story. And I just fell more in love. Like, you just have such a powerful story. You are such a powerful being. So I'm really excited that we get to channel your book. Anything you want to share before we jump in?
No, I'm coming into this process just, I would say pretty blind. I obviously I've seen your presentation at Genius Network and the handout that you gave us. So I have a general idea, of course, of what you do in our previous conversations. I shared with you a fair amount of just different snippets of my life. So I'm just an open book today, and I'm just going to trust the process. That's all.
Yay. Those are my favorite. My favorite way is that, right? So every session is different. So we're going to first move into our bodies. All right. So the body is the vessel. So I want to move our bodies for a second. So I want you to just close your eyes.
Okay.
We're just going to breathe into our bodies and just feel into what needs to happen so that we can really get into this beautiful space of channeling. So just maybe put your shoulders up to your ears, roll them back. We're going to open the heart. And I want you to visualize this beautiful golden sun. It's like the most nourishing, the most love, this profound healing energy. We're going to pour it through your heart space. So I want you to breathe in and breathe in this beautiful golden warmth. And breathing out, we're going to allow that to continue to soften the heart walls so that you can receive your book today, because it feels like your book really wants to come in through the heart and the throat. So it's like heart and throat are a little locked, which means that there's a lot of magic that wants to come through. So we're just going to pour the sun, the warmth, the divine compassion. So before we dropped in today, I tried to kind of feel into your space. And the thing that came in through for me was the goddess Tara. So I don't know if you know a lot about the goddess Tara, but she's the goddess of compassion. And she just has this immense level of compassion. And so she showed up really loud for me for our session today. So we're just going to hold the space that the heart, the throat really wants to be seen. And then this beautiful seed of compassion is just really present. So now what we're going to do is just breathe in again. And we're going to ask that the divine light will pour over your room, cleaning the walls, the ceilings, the floors, the windows, the doors, anything that's in that space, so that your room becomes completely activated in this higher vibrational frequency, that you will be held in this divine love and compassion, and this space will be like a portal to receiving. I want you to imagine from the top of your head all the way down to your toes. We're going to clean your system out, cleaning out any noise, any thoughts, anything that might want to come in and figure it out. We're going to invite this divine light to clear it out so that everything that shows up comes straight from receiving and from your heart space. So just breathing in. Here we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pour light over your ears. So we're going to pour light over both of our ears so that anything that's blocking our ability to hear and receive will be cleared out, so that we can hear exactly what needs to be heard, so that we can hear your book, that we can hear the messages that need to come through. And then we're going to pour this divine love through your third eye chakra to wake up all of your gifts. We're going to pour it through your gifts, pour it through my gifts, activating our ability to see visions, activating our ability to see the book, and activating our receptivity. Just breathing in. And then we're just going to pour light over our lips, that we speak only what needs to be spoken, that the words that we speak will be profound and potent. And then we've already called in the goddess Tara. We're going to call on any other angels and guides that are here to support you in this book. I don't know, Pachamama? You familiar with Pachamama? Yeah? She seems
Yeah,
really loud for you
I've
this
had
morning.
a few dances with her before.
Yeah. Okay, so Pachamama seems really loud for you this morning. So Pachamama, Gaia, it's like there's just so much like really rooted deep earth medicine here. So we're just going to call this all in and into the divine light to be present, to hold the space with us, to help us receive your book. So now that we've like prepared, opened the body, created the space, we're going to invite your book in and through the divine light to come in and show us. Show us any messages, any visions, anything that's going to help this book birth through you. And because I believe everyone can see, hear, and feel. I believe everyone's really gifted. Anything that you hear, see, or feel, please share with me, because that helps us communicate better with the book. So the second I called your book in, what I saw was tree roots. Like it was coming in with tree roots, like this movement. And then it was like being gifted to us. So when I say that, what shows up for you immediately? What thoughts come to you? What do you experience?
So the thought that came to me initially when you said that was, one of the things that kind of sparked a lot of the journey that I've been on for the last, say, 10 to 15 years now has been my interest in history and ancestral history, and my fascination with like Native Americans from South America, Central America, North America, but also like other parts of the globe, Europe, Africa, indigenous people is really like what got me into this work, was just my fascination with ancient history. So when you said the tree roots, it was like, oh, these are like Earth's like caretakers.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what came to me initially.
That's so beautiful, Michael. I love that. So let's drop back in. There's a lot in my mind of like, oh, this is so fun, but I want to receive it. So I'm going to stay out of my mind. And we're going to invite your book to come and sit on this altar between my heart and your heart. And we're going to invite your book to open up and show us what message, what do we want to ask? We want to ask it. Let's see, we've got to get really clear on our ask. Is there a question that you have for the book?
Not yet.
Okay. So it's interesting that when the book showed up, it was like it was like blowing dust off of an old book, right? Like so when it showed up, it was like this dust that we had to blow off. We opened it, and it's like the pages had dust running through them, just really showing me like the ancientness of it. I don't know if that's a word, ancientness, but we're going to use that right now, right? Like it's just old. So now what we want to do is we want to ask, who needs this book? That's the question, right? Like who in this world is needing this book right now? Because when we know what it's here and who it's here to serve, it actually helps it birth it, right? Like the service is the thing that pulls it out of us, right? Because it feels
Right.
like it's already here inside of you, and there's a content. It's like there's something inside of you that's content to have it just be here. Like it feels content. Like, okay, it's okay that the book's here in your body. And it's not like this fire burn to get it out. But if we can find who it's here for, then that becomes the magnet to bring it to the world. So,
Understood.
yeah.
So, I'm trying to think. Well, I'm not quite sure. There's like so many, I mean, we've already chatted in the past. Like, there's a lot of different directions I can go with the book based on my experiences. Um, I do feel like I am one of many on this calling who is getting humanity like in touch with their primal self in a way. So just like I would say the teachings of the East like came to the Americas in the early 1900s, and you had very influential people come like Yogananda and bring yoga to, let's just say, the West America. And that took time, and then over time, like you can go to pretty much any small town in the United States and you'll find a yoga studio, and meditation and yoga and practice and breath work and all of those philosophies have like been like woven into the fabric of Western culture now. I feel like that's happening today with this Native American, primal, like indigenous culture. Their teaching, their voice is trying to be heard. And it's also like a wave that's coming into the West, where you have so many people from Europe, the United States, Canada, Australia, and many other places around the world who are traveling to explore these cultures and learn from them and learn what their teachings were, what their aspect of, or their thoughts really, and their practices of like healing and medicine, like what's their perspective. So I feel like that movement is happening, and it's happening and it has some different names. Like the biohacking community is kind of latched onto it a bit, and you're just seeing more people coming out and talking about we can do so much more than we think we can. That's like Wim Hof's message, like the body's capable of so much more. So I feel like I'm part of that wave in some way, shape, or form. And obviously the things I talk to people about, the things I teach about, from cold water therapy to breathing exercises to health to getting back to our more primal ways, which is, getting good sleep, waking up, eating good food, getting sunshine, all of like the basics that we've seemed to forgot about in the last 30, 40, 50 years, even more so in the last 20. So I would say that is what comes to me when you talk about like who needs this work, or because you see all of these issues in society where people aren't educated about their body. They don't know about what's good food, what's not. The trickery of the marketing of these big companies have pretty much got the best of everybody. So it's really difficult for people to understand what should I be eating, what shouldn't I be eating, what I was raised eating in these comfort foods. So that's also really important too. So I feel like there's a lot of people who are helping, who are contributing to really the education. It's the education piece that's missing. And one thing I often say in my workshops is that, you know, I went to elementary school, I went to middle school, I went to high school, I went to the Navy, I got an undergraduate degree, I went and got a master's degree, and then I got another master's degree. And in all of that education, I learned nothing about health. Very, very, very little about health. So if I didn't seek it out on my own, if I didn't go down the rabbit holes, if I didn't learn the information to share with others, I wouldn't know it because the system is not teaching it. So I feel like I'm part of this process to help bring some of that information out to the general public, that's not being done by the institutions. So
I love that. I feel that. I feel that. And what a blessing, like what a gift that you're bringing, because uh, so many are walking around with trauma and fried nervous systems and trying to manage day to day and have no idea how to help and cope and move through it and thrive. So
it's confusing out there.
very confusing.
Yeah,
And
it's really confusing. You know, of course, it's almost like a TMI, right? Too much information.
yeah.
So it's hard to know what to do, how to do it. So sometimes you just give up and you just go back to what you know. And I think there's a lot of that happens as well.
Yeah. So let's drop in and see what the book wants to share with you on who it wants to serve. Because the book has a soul, an essence. It has a purpose. It has a distinct group of people who really need this book, right? There are people who can only learn this through your message, through your voice. There are people who couldn't learn it through anyone else. So even though there may be a wave, there are people who can't hear it because the way you teach it and the way you speak it and the way you write it is going to be like, it's going to be the medicine that they were seeking, that no one else was saying it, right? So let's drop back into our hearts. We're going to pour over. There's this wall right here in the heart chakra that we're just going to soften. We're going to soften this heart wall. We're going to soften the heart wall. We're going to activate the deep, profound space of service that's inside of you. The service that has seen suffering, the service that has seen where people need this. We're going to wake up that remembrance in your heart, and we're going to ask your book to show us who needs this book, who right now, what does their life look like? Why do they need this book? Why is this book going to be the medicine that they haven't found yet? So we're just going to breathe in, and we're just going to ask that we'll be shown visions, that we will hear it with our ears, that we will know exactly what this book is saying to us. So just breathing in. Thank you for being here with us in this beautiful, sacred book channeling session. And if you felt the stir in your heart that it is time for you to write your book, then I am so excited to tell you that I am going to give you my sacred creative process that allows authors to channel their books. Just click the link below in the description and you will have immediate access to learning the tools on how you will channel your book. So immediately what I see is, so when you were speaking, what I saw was you being the earth, like your presence was as stable as the earth, where when we step on the earth, we don't worry if it's going to fall. We don't worry if it's going to cave in. Like there's a real surety that whatever I'm stepping on is going to be stable. Your presence in this book is stable. So it is like the thing that they step on that creates stability inside of their bodies. And then what I was seeing was that these people who need it, they keep tripping. So that's the vision that I keep seeing. Like they keep walking and they keep collapsing. And I keep hearing the word, they're depleted, they're depleted, they're depleted. And they keep tripping and they keep tripping. And what they need is stability. And what this book is going to bring is going to teach them how to build stability inside of their own beings. They're not going to be stepping on all these fake steps, but they're going to be stepping on true stability because it comes from within them, their own inner wisdom, their own inner strength, their own inner power. It's just breathing in. How does that land for you? What do you hear? What do you see?
Well, that's funny that you said that. That resonated with me. That's often a compliment that I get from people is, that I'm very reliable and stable. So I've heard that message before in ways, shapes, and forms, whether it's friendship, business, relationships. So I've heard that. An old teacher of mine who passed away, he had like a nickname, and at the end of all of his ceremonies, he would refer to me in a joking way, but a very truthful way to him, was he used to call me the Rock of Gibraltar, mainly as a reference of how steady Eddie, stable that I was always for him and for the process that I would help him in. So
I love that. So
yeah,
that's like many witnesses of like that's who you are. And I love that because the vision I saw was like you in the earth, like almost like a part of the earth, right? Like you being that stable place. So imagine that you birthing this book, whatever this is that wants to come out of you, just the book alone is going to bring that energy because we are our books, right? So you get to birth something that's going to be so stable for people that they're going to stop tripping. They keep getting tripped up. And oh, this is something that I'm hearing. You know how like electricity can get tripped?
yes,
What I'm hearing is that their nervous system keeps getting tripped. They keep getting tripped and they keep frying and burning and frying and burning. And what your book is going to do is it's going to show them how they stop getting tripped up, how they stop tripping over and over and burning out.
I like it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm taking some notes.
That's okay. And this is recorded, so you'll have this.
That's true.
So there's something around flowers, like they just keep showing up, and I keep pushing them away because I'm like, what is that? What are you doing here? But there's something about flowers that keep popping up right now. So does flowers mean anything to you? What comes to your mind?
Well, flowers. It's a great question. There was a time period in my life where I was doing these different diets, and this was really just something that I had learned from South American indigenous people, and it was the path that I was on at that time. And they diet a lot of plants, and so most people are very familiar with them because Native people, are known for some of the plant medicine that's really popular today, right? Whether it be ayahuasca or the different types of cactus plants and mushroom plants. If you go down that rabbit hole, you'll learn that there's native tribes of kind of some of the origin and caretakers of those processes that Westerners have like adopted today. So there's a time period in my life where I was spending a lot of time learning about that, experiencing that, experimenting with that, learning their traditions. And one of the things that they did is they diet plants, whether in the jungle and also here, and the whole point of dieting a plant would be that you're essentially taking on the essence of that plant so that you start to make a communication with that plant. And that's really where their magic was they had the ability to connect with plants and flowers at a different level that we can't fully understand in our Western brains. Yeah. We know that if we ingest the plant, yeah, it's going to have an effect on us. There's a science that will show that. And, we understand that aspect of it. But what they were doing is they were like making these deep connections with these plants because they would diet, they would eat no sugar, no starch. They would basically be in a state of like a very disciplined state of disconnection from all things. and then they would bring in this plant, and then the whole point was that when they go to bed and dream at night, the plant comes to visit them, or the frequency of the plant, or the spirit of the plant, and then they would work on them like a just like a spirit. So that's part of their practice, and that's what they do, and that's like the core essence of like shamanism. They, you know, if you opened up their book of like, you would see a whole book of different plants that they've dieted with, that they've learned from, that they've established these relationships from. So I thought that was really fascinating. Of course, I was just intrigued. It seemed like very Lord of the Ring type ish, right? You know, with the things that they were doing. So what I had done at the time was I had done a diet with this, with the rose, and I forget exactly why I was called to do it. I think I had gotten a message in one of the ceremonies, and I found this highly concentrated rose tincture, and then I started to diet with that. And that was supposed to be one of the highest vibrational flowers on the earth.
Yeah.
And that, you know, it was also like the same frequency that like angels communicated on. And then I had an Italian man once, because my last name is Italian. My family is from Italy. And he made a comment one day. I was at his restaurant, and he says, "Oh, Roviello, Italian name, you know, were you born there? Do you know language?" Like, you know, trying to find like my ties. And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, it's a very common name in a very specific region of the country, not far from where he had grown up." And that the Rovi was the thorn of the rose bush. So that there was like this other weird thing. So my last name is Roviello, for anyone who's tuned in here. But I never understood what my name meant. It was just my last name. You know, it's my passed down from my father. And then this Italian man who owned this restaurant here in Phoenix, you know, had made that comment. And that was not too long after I had done that diet with that rose. So that's the only thing that came to me when you brought that up. So I thought that was interesting. And I still have that tincture in my house because I didn't use all of it because it's so potent. But it's just something that you would ingest very small amounts of daily, but you would also be on a pretty strict diet.
Okay, so this is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. And what I'm hearing is that, hold on, I want to speak it exactly as I. So just as the rose, just as the flowers could change people's vibrational frequency and allow them to have a higher connection, that is what your book is showing me, that that's the possibility with this book for your readers, that just digesting the words of the book, the way that you can receive this book. And it can't come from here, even though you're really smart. It has to come through just like they experienced it, right? Shown in their dreams, given to them. That's how this book gets to come through. And when you bring it like that, it will have the same effect, in the sense that people holding it, listening to it, reading it, it will change the frequency inside of their body.
Understood.
How cool is that?
Yeah, because I follow a guy who channels books. His name is Paul Selig. Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm gonna have to look him up.
Yeah, and I've read all of his books. There's quite a few, and he channels the book. So basically, he writes the book in like 2 weeks or something like that. Like no edits. It's this crazy process, and he's been doing it for some time now. And each book has a different message, and there's all these different frequencies inside of the book. So there's basically attunements. So as you're reading the book, you're actually getting the attunement, right? Mm-hmm. And I've studied these books because I've read them multiple times. Some of them I've read 4 or 5 times, you know, because I'm just like always digesting these frequencies. Mm-hmm. And when I was doing a lot of plant medicine ceremonies, his books were like super helpful for me as part of an integration process, because I was having all of these visions and trying to make sense of that and trying to apply that to my life and be a better person and be a better friend and, better, family member and all of these things, really a better human being ultimately. But with plant medicine and ceremonial practice, it could get very confusing, just like a dream. You wake up from a dream and you're like, okay, what was that? Like, what do I do with that information? And it could fade very fast too. So I was reading these books, the Book of Freedom. There's many of them, but it's Paul Selig for any of those who might be curious. And I use his attunements every single day. So one of the things that I adopted, right, was, okay, what can I bring in from his work and apply it to what I do? So when I go into cold water therapy and do an ice bath or cold water, for that 3 minutes that I'm in there, I'm meditating. That's like my meditation time. So for the 3 minutes, like, I'm not focused on external. I'm not looking at the clock. My focus is internal. I am slowing down my breathing, doing all the basics of how to get into the zone. But I've also learned that I can slow my mind down very much. So when I slow my busy, crazy machine mind, that I get more in touch with my body. And when I go into these states, what I'm doing is I'm using these attunements. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. I am free. I am free. I am free. And I'm saying this language over and over and over and over again for 2, 3, 4, or 5 minutes. And I get into these semi-psychedelic states, just in meditation in cold water. But I believe, based on what I've learned from the books and my own experiences, that it is changing the frequency with those words. So I am familiar with what you're referring to, because I got introduced to this through his work, but not only his work, part of my journey, really where my journey started, because spiritually I used to be like a zero, is what I like to tell people.
Yeah.
I was working on my mind, I was working on my body, but spiritually I was at zero. I had no spiritual practice. I had kind of left Catholicism back in New York, where I came from, and I just kind of left it there and didn't really explore much of it. But I was raised with that, and then I never adopted really anything else. So spiritually I wasn't doing much. And I think I was way out of balance because I didn't have a spiritual practice. And the person who brought me to spirit again, who opened up my mind and my heart to the fact that spirituality is important, and I need to implement it, and I need to practice it, and I need to put energy into that space of my life, was a man by the name of Edgar Cayce, who was a sleeping prophet slash medium slash psychic in the late 1800s, early 1900s, who had over 12,000 recorded readings that are in a library in Virginia Beach. And those readings are still available for public. And most of them are health related, but also there's huge chapters on Atlantis, early days of Egypt, how Egypt came about. He's the one who found the Dead Sea Scrolls. He predicted World War II, World War I. He was like mapping the neurological system in the late 1800s, way before, medical science did. And he had like an 8th grade education. So channeling and learning about Jesus and other forms of spirituality was really Edgar Cayce for me. That's what he brought me back to it. So yeah, that's all in this. That's all in the line with kind of what you said. That's a lot of information there, but
no, it's beautiful, because here's what I'm hearing. You see how these two men, literally, they changed you down to your cells. You went from zero to being this, right? what I'm hearing is that that is what this book is for others. I know that's like, whoa, it's kind of intense to like feel,
Yeah.
but like it's so strong in my body that like if you can write this book and not write it like a memoir, not write it like these are the things I've been through, but if you can truly go in and ask, and I saw like ask the indigenous people to come and be with you, like invite them in, invite the power of the plants that you have like experienced, invite them all to be with you and ask that you channel through a book that holds the vibrational frequency to change people down to their cells, that can be like the flower was for you, that can be like these two men were for you. That's what this book is. The book is nothing other than this magic, this old ancient magic that will be taught to you as you bring it through.
Understood.
You excited?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. It's a direction that I wasn't considering.
That feels so much like here. And there's something I want you to do some research on the goddess Tara, because she's very loud for you.
How you
And
spell that?
just Tara,
Oh.
right? The goddess Tara. She's actually the one that I'm not the closest to. Like I work a lot more with Isis. I work a lot more with Kuan Yin, but Tara, she has, oh man, she has like got this deep, profound compassion and love. And what I'm hearing is that when you bring her in with this book, that's going to be part of the catalyst that changes your readers. It's the compassion and the love that's going to help them change their cells. It's also going to be what creates that really strong foundation, that really strong, stable rock experience. The compassion and the love is a big part of this. So there's one other message that's coming through. So I'm just going to be quiet for a second and see if I can receive it. I'm going to invite you to open up and receive it as well. Okay, it's a little bold. You ready for me to get really bold with you?
Sure. I wouldn't expect anything less from you.
Okay, good. Okay, so it's gonna be, so it's really strong, which makes me cry. Whenever I feel this type of presence, it just brings me to emotion. But what I was seeing were these beings that you've learned to love, to know, these ancient beings, the ancient wise ones, that they're handing you a leaf and it's golden, and they're saying, like, you were chosen. You were chosen to do this work. So it's time. There's a lot of potent love in that.
I feel that. And during the very confusing states of me being through, going through these different ceremonies that I had sat in, well over 100 of them is my rough kind of draft on how many I participated in. There was a lot of these types of messages that would come in that I didn't quite know what to do with. And, you know, they gave me a good push because, you know, where I was at that time, I was still working in a corporate environment and doing good work there, and, you know, but still healing myself. And they pushed me, like really gave me a good shove into the work that I'm doing now, which was, you know, opening, you know, the facility that we have here, Optimized with Jesse. My friendship first with him, and then business relationship with him second. And then getting into teaching Wim Hof method and spreading that energy throughout my network of people here in Arizona, and then doing some tours in Mexico, South America, other parts of the United States as well. And then all of the things that I learned in ceremony, and then being able to replicate that in my workshops here. But there was all these very confusing messages. You know, there's many nights where I was journeying and taking care of people who were hunched over, vomiting, going through the process of what ayahuasca will take you through, which is kind of like wringing you out like a wet rag, you know, of all of the things that you've stored inside your body for many years. And I was just like that rock of Gibraltar, basically tired, but, you know, they would kind of come to me and like almost like comfort me because I was so tired. And I was like, I don't know if I could be doing this anymore. You know, I just, this is too much. It was almost like rubbing my back, like, you know, like a very comforting feeling of like what you're doing for other people is noted and recognized, you know, so we give you strength to keep going. So I gotten these sort of messages before and didn't fully understand what to do with them. So I just kind of keep going, you know, and a lot of people like, so what do you want for your future? Like they ask me all these questions like, oh, where is Optimize going to be in 10 years? Or what do you want? And I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea on anything. Like, what are you creating through your life? I'm like, I don't even know. I don't
Yeah.
even know.
Yeah.
And I don't even ask the questions. You know, people do all these manifestations and I'm manifesting this. I'm just like moving through life and just trying to be surprised when things happen. And that's kind of the way I've been living,
Yeah.
which sometimes I'm like, well, maybe I need to be more directed on where I'm going. But I also kind of like, in a way, not knowing and to see like who shows up or what pops up. And that's kind of been the fun of it for me as well.
Yeah.
Not necessarily having a well spelled out, thought out plan. Just trusting in my heart that I'm on the right path and the little things that I'm doing every day, just showing up for people, being there for them, um, you know, caring for people, doing the right thing when nobody's looking. These types of things are really what keeps me going and keeps me pointed that I'm in on the right path and that I'm doing well. So thank you.
I, I love it. I love it. And all that is all that is being asked right now is if you could set aside oh, no, they want 30 minutes. So if you could set aside 30 minutes a day, and maybe it's after a cold plunge, right? Maybe you go into the cold plunge and have that be your entrance into channeling, or maybe there's a different way that you prepare your body. But this is sacred work. So there's a ceremony that you can be shown that's going to help you enter into that channeling state so that you can really receive the codes that go inside this book that are going to change the frequency of everybody who reads it. What I'm hearing is they're going to teach you. They're going to teach you exactly what needs to go inside the book, and it's going to be like manna. Going to be like manna for you. It's going to fill you and it's going to be delicious, and it's going to be there's just no other word other than just deep gratifying love. Like that's what this is going to be. So they're just asking for 30 minutes a day for you to spend time moving into that realm of channeling and let them teach you as you write this book.
Got it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you.
Thank
I love
you.
it. All right, so we're going to end with my bowl. This is my sacred bowl. This is actually 695 years old. This is a very, very sacred bowl. So I'm going to have you take a nice deep breath in. And we're just going to pour light through your body, bringing so much comfort to your nervous system, clearing the space, bringing you all the way down into the soles of your feet, grounding you. And we're going to wrap this book it wants to be wrapped in the golden leaves. So the golden leaf that I saw them give to you, are wrapping your book in these golden leaves. And then we're going to hand them over to the divine, asking that all of these beings, these ancient wise ones who are here to support you, that they will continue to show up for you, continue to teach you, continue to guide you in how to bring forward this book. And just wrapping you in so much love. Take a deep breath in. Michael, this was such a beautiful, beautiful session. Thank you for being so open.
Thank you for having me and taking me through this process.
Yeah,
It was beautiful.
I'm so excited. So keep me up to date. Let me know how things are going. I will hopefully see you. I mean, I'll see you maybe at Genius. Are you going to be at Genius in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I decided that we're not going to head out to the Netherlands. That's where we were supposed to go. So yeah, we'll be in town.
All right.
And we'll see you at Genius Network. And
I'll see you there.
I'll be in town next week if you're in town. So if you want to come by Optimize, of course, send me a message.
You know I'll be there.
Yeah. So,
all right.
I'll see you there.
Thank you for being you. Thank you to everyone who participated, because all of your energy participated with us in this dance. So just thank you to everyone who's here. And drink some water, have some salt, and maybe go lay on some earth after this.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
See ya.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
If you loved this video, then I invite you to come over with me right here and watch a few more of my book channeling sessions. Join me as I sit with authors and we channel through books that are here to transform humanity. I think you're going to love them.